welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Travel. If it's your first time, then our podcast is all about travel experiences. So we talk to people all across the world and they share their stories, their tips, and any experiences that they've had, positive and negative. So you can check out any of our previous podcasts in the playlist below. And today we've got a guest with us, Xavi. Hi Xavi, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
So welcome. You're welcome, man. You're welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and where you're from and where you are right now? And
yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Bristol, in England. On my mom's side of the family is Polish, and my dad's side of the family is originally South African. I grew up in the UK, but when I was 8 years old, I moved to Holland. And when I was 12 years old, I moved to Oman, actually. And I spent, basically since the age of 12, I've spent most of my life in the Middle East. I lived in Oman. I lived in Lebanon for a while. I've traveled around most of the region. In fact, I've been to every country in the Middle East except for Kuwait and Yemen. I love traveling. It's a passion of mine. I love to learn about new cultures, new people, meet new people, learn new languages. It's really fascinating for me, and I believe that the Middle East as a region is one of the most misunderstood places in the world.
yeah,
there's a lot of potential in this region. Unfortunately, it's often looked in a very negative, seen in a very negative light by so many people due to the media and all that, and social media as well. But the beauty of the region, the hospitality of the region, is something that's really drawn me in.
Yeah. You've been there from like a young age. So was it a bit of a culture shock when you first had arrived to like the Muslim world?
It was to some extent. When I was 12 years old, I was actually I went to school in a local school.
Okay.
I mean, it was a private school, and it was using an international curriculum. But I was the first Western student in that school, which was quite. It was quite a shock to me to begin with.
Yeah.
I was seen as kind of like the stranger or the odd one out.
Yeah.
But I got used to it very quickly. I made some really great friends there, and I started to feel at home within no time.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And you're still out in the Middle East now, is that correct?
Yes, I'm actually in Oman now. I arrived in Oman about a month ago. And it's my first time in Oman for 3 years, so it feels really awesome to be back, actually.
Yeah. So did you connect up with some of the people that you knew from when you were younger?
Yes, absolutely. It's been my first time seeing some people for ages.
Wow, that's amazing.
4 years, many of them. So it's really awesome to see them all.
Yeah. And you're not standing still. I heard that you're moving on to somewhere else in maybe the coming days or weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm heading to Iraq pretty soon.
Yeah.
I found an opportunity to teach English in Baghdad.
Yeah.
I'm actually already teaching English at this language in a school online.
Yeah.
But the opportunity has now arisen to actually go there and teach in person.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that.
So have you been to Iraq before?
Yes, 2 years ago. I was also teaching English in Iraq, in Najaf.
A lot of people watching might think that, wow, Iraq is going to be like really dangerous and unstable. Why would you want to go there? What would you kind of say to people like that? And did you have any of these doubts in your mind before you had first gone?
I did to some extent. I mean, I'd done a lot of research, and I've had friends there before I even went. I knew people that had traveled there before I'd gone.
Yeah.
And to some extent, yes, I was scared, because despite knowing that I would be in a pretty safe situation, I still had that image of the country in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And that is something that's very difficult to unlearn, I think, unless you actually go there and you recreate the whole image that you have of the place in your mind. Because to some extent, or at least it could be argued that one's image of a country or of a place is programmed into your mind through so many years of hearing certain stories,
Yeah.
listening to certain things. Every time you see the word Iraq on the media, basically, it's always associated with something negative. I was very happy with the Pope's visit to Iraq recently, actually, because I think that was some of the first positive news coverage of the country
for a very long time.
Very, very, very long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and he was embraced quite well, wasn't he? It was taken quite well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you had hit the ground the first time, did it kind of put you at ease?
It did. I was received at the airport by my host, by somebody by the man that I was that owned the language school that I was working at.
Yeah.
And I was immediately put at ease. I made some awesome local friends. One of the people that I met there was a local Iraqi man called Ahmed, who became one of my closest friends. We went on a trip to Iran together.
Okay.
About maybe 6 or less than that, 4 months after I left Iraq.
Yeah.
And recently he was with me in Egypt, just before I was in Oman, actually.
Yeah.
We spent he was with me in Egypt for about a month. And now I'm going to see him in Iraq, and he's going to be the one that's receiving me from the airport, and I'm going to stay at his family home for a while. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it seems like you're really keen and really looking forward to it. So, what are you looking forward to the most?
I'm looking forward. Firstly, I'm looking forward to seeing my friends and staying with them, experiencing a local Iraqi household, seeing the way they live. And really just exploring new places, having new experiences, meeting my students, teaching them. I feel like it's a very rewarding job to have, especially having so much social interaction and the hospitality of the Iraqi people is something that is next level. Really. When I was first in Iraq, I remember I would go to markets, and when people would hear that I was British, they were seeing as they have very, very few foreign visitors. They would be shocked, and they would insist that whatever I was trying to buy would be on them.
Yeah.
And they would insist that I would take it for free. And in a lot of Middle Eastern countries, this is kind of like a polite gesture that people have. Many cases, people don't mean it, but in Iraq, people really meant it.
Yeah.
Like they really, really insisted that whatever I wanted to initially buy, that they really insisted that I should take it for free. And they would just tell me that.
Sorry.
They would just tell me that in exchange, all they wanted for me to do was that when I would leave Iraq, I would speak positively about the place and teach people about it. And that's what I've been working to do.
Yeah, I think like a lot of Muslim countries, the hospitality is always like really great. When you watch a lot of other like YouTubers and other travelers, they always kind of give this kind of feedback that a lot of people offer them things for free. They host them into their houses or into their businesses, and just want to kind of be really hospitable. Could you say that's true?
Absolutely, without a doubt. Especially in Iraq, and especially in countries that get very few tourists, I think.
Yeah.
Especially when I think when a country gets used to tourists,
it becomes
especially
business-minded. Yeah.
Exactly. It almost becomes a business, and they're not as when tourists are not a new phenomenon. Then of course they are still treated in a phenomenal way in countries like Jordan or Egypt. But you also have people that you also have scams and people that are taking advantage of these people.
Yeah.
But in Iraq, absolutely not. That does not exist. In fact, I've really just had all positive experiences there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So a bit more about yourself. Would it be a fair statement to say that you're a bit of a traveler and you don't have like a set location, or do you still like to call somewhere home?
I mean, I called Oman home for many years, but since I left 3-4 years ago, I would say that I've kind of been a nomad. I've been spending a couple of months here, a couple of months there, traveling all around. I initially planned on moving to Holland to start university in September 2019.
Yeah.
But after 3 months there, I had basically a 1 month and a half, 2 month break due to long university holidays. So I left the country then. I did a trip I was actually running a trip to Syria and Lebanon. I also went to Jordan during this period. But then I went back to university in the Netherlands, and within a couple of weeks, university was shut down because of COVID. But ironically, the fact that the university has been online since then has actually given me the opportunity to travel again.
Yeah. So you're still studying now?
Yes, I'm studying online. All of my lectures are online.
And do you like this nomadic kind of lifestyle?
Absolutely. In fact, the whole notion of living in Holland for such a long period of time while studying at university was quite frightening for me, because I knew that I would not be able to travel as much. But it turns out that I have been traveling just as much.
Yeah. And how long do you envisage yourself living this kind of lifestyle?
I don't know. I wouldn't be able to give you an answer to that.
But you kind of just live each day as it comes.
Yes, exactly. And plans tend to change on very short notice.
Yeah.
So like I was saying, I'm going to go to Iraq after Oman, but I do not know when that will happen. It might happen in 2 days. It might happen in a week. It might happen in 2 weeks. Dependent upon a few things. We'll see.
Yeah, and just mentioning something that you just spoke about. So you arranged a trip to Syria and did you say Lebanon?
Well, the tour started and finished in Lebanon, but the main focus of the trip was Syria. Yes.
Yeah. So was that the first time you had done that, or is that a regular kind of thing that you organise?
In January 2020, that was the first time I had organised a full trip myself and ran it myself and guided it. It was absolutely awesome. It was an experience that was amazing for myself. I really enjoyed it. But it was also great for the people that came on the trip.
Yeah. And how many people went on this trip with yourself?
That was 7 people in January 2020.
And what countries were they from?
We had Brits, we had Americans, a French person. That's it. Oh, and an Irish person.
Okay, and were these like non-Muslim people?
Yeah, non-Muslim people. Exactly.
And they just wanted an experience of what Syria's like, and
right. And one of them had never actually been to the Middle East before.
Okay, wow.
So it was his first time in the Middle East, which was I think a very eye-opening experience for him.
Yeah.
And I feel very privileged that I was the one that organized this. And
I'm guessing you had been to Syria before, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. My ex-girlfriend was Syrian actually, and we were organizing these trips together.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in regards to Syria, what's the thinking behind sorting out these organized travels? Like, is it to kind of break down misconceptions, or what was your kind of main focus behind these trips?
Well, absolutely. I think breaking down certain stereotypes that people have of the country and showing people another side to this culturally rich historical country was the main objective of this.
Yeah.
Also to give Syrian people a sense of normality with the war easing down,
Yeah.
and in much of the country, and yeah, I believe to some extent we did make an impact with these goals. Of course, I don't like some people have said that by doing this you are kind of not being sensitive to the effects of war and all of that, but I don't think that that's the case. In fact, we do not try to hide any of these things during the trips. We do not specifically focus on them either. It's not as if we're going to specifically war-torn areas and taking people around.
Yeah.
No, like the objective of it is absolutely not war tourism.
Yeah.
I do not like the whole idea of this.
Yeah.
And this is not at all what we were doing. But rather to show people the beauty that Syria has to offer, basically.
Yeah, the country's uplifting again, and surely the people there don't want to live in grief for the rest of their lives. They want to have some sense of normality, and there were tourists there prior wars and stuff like that, and especially people who had traveled there maybe in the 70s and the 80s, they can probably vouch for the beauty of the country and how rich it is in all its beauty, I suppose.
Absolutely. I think in 2010, Syria had hundreds of thousands of international visitors, and it was really an upcoming destination that so many people had high up on their bucket lists.
Yeah, and it's a massive country, right? It's huge.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, it's not as big as some of the other Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah,
like Iraq, for example, I think is almost twice the size of Syria.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah. So so how many countries would you say you've been to in the world?
Between 40 and 50.
Okay.
I haven't actually counted them.
Yeah.
It's not really my goal to just tick off countries, really.
Yeah.
I like to, when I travel, I like to just explore and learn.
Yeah.
And if I'm just going to a country for 2 days, then I don't really feel as if I've achieved that goal.
Yeah.
So I don't really keep tabs, but I'd assume that I think it's between 40 and 50.
Okay. And what would you say has been your favorite country from all of those?
That's a difficult question, and that's a question I get asked a lot.
And I'm sure you don't want to upset anyone either.
I think each country has got its positive points and its negative points. But I don't think I'd be able to tell you what my favorite country is. But in terms of the experiences I had and the most fun I had in a country, I'd probably tell you Iran, actually.
Okay.
I think the hospitality that I saw there was next level. It was really, really phenomenal. The natural sights were just stunning. The history was so fascinating. Everything was just great. I was hitchhiking with my friends in Iran, and it was very, very easy to do so. It was just a really awesome experience as a whole.
And people wouldn't associate like Iran being so kind of hitchhike friendly. Is that another myth?
I think that's completely a myth. I think Iran is one of the most hitchhiker-friendly countries I've been to.
Yeah.
People are very, very willing to stop, and like I said, the people are some of the most hospitable I've seen. We had really awesome experiences with hitchhiking there.
Okay.
So, in fact, I think the Middle East as a whole, especially the safer countries of the Middle East like Iran.
Yeah.
I think hitchhiking is an awesome way to get around, because not only, of course, it's the cheapest way to get around, but that's not the point. The point is that you meet people, and you get to really
interact,
get a good grasp of culture, and you get to interact with people. And when I travel, I try to make as much effort as I can to learn the local language as well.
Yeah.
And there's no better way to practice there was no better way to practice my Farsi skills than with communicating with people that I was hitchhiking with.
So I'm guessing you're also fluent in Arabic as well, visiting a lot of Arabic places and living in Oman.
Yes, I can speak Arabic, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know many other languages then? I'm guessing you're probably a linguist by now.
Not quite a linguist. I think English and Arabic are my two most fluent languages. After that, I speak Polish, but it's a bit rusty. I would like to work more on that.
Yeah.
Um, I can also speak, well, after my time in Iran, I felt like I could speak Persian pretty well. But I would need to study that and I would need to brush it up a little. I can speak a bit of Turkish, a bit of Russian, just bits and bobs of different languages, Dutch as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'd say fluently English and Arabic, and then maybe Polish would come close to fluent, but not quite, not fully there.
Okay, this question now, it's not singling out any country, but just have you faced any bad experiences whilst you've kind of been out on the road? And can you just share any stories?
Yeah, I've got of course, every traveler that travels a lot has negative stories. Of course, the vast majority have been extremely positive. When I was traveling between Saudi Arabia and Jordan, I was hitchhiking. I was hitchhiking across the border. And by the way, this is actually the first time that I've said this story online. So
it's an exclusive.
Yeah, it's exclusive stuff. Yeah, I passed through the Saudi checkpoints. I got to the Jordanian side of the border, and I spoke to the border official in Arabic, and I think this was a mistake of mine, because he asked me to give him my Syrian or Lebanese identity documents. When I speak Arabic, I mostly speak in the Syrian Lebanese dialect, so it's quite obvious when I speak that I've either studied this dialect, or many people assume that I'm from there or have roots from there. I told him I don't have any Syrian Lebanese documents, and he basically thought I was lying. He took me into interrogation. In the end, I spent many hours in interrogation there.
So did you have your passport with you?
Yes, of course. I had my British passport, which they initially accused of being fake.
Oh wow!
Then they went away. They came back. They finally believed that I was a legitimate British citizen. Yeah, they asked me how I can speak the Levantine dialect of Arabic, basically. I told them that I lived in Oman and I had many Levantine friends whilst living here, and I also spent time in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And I was studying the Levantine dialect specifically. I specifically went to Lebanon to study it. And he asked where I studied it, what places I went to in Lebanon, these kind of things. And then he opened my passport to look for my Lebanese stamp and didn't find it.
Oh no!
Because I entered Lebanon on my Polish passport, not on my British.
Okay.
So that brought a lot of suspicion.
Yeah.
What he did see was a lot of Turkey stamps.
Okay.
Actually, I've been to Turkey quite a few times, and he went away. He came back, and he came up with the accusation that I entered Turkey and I was illegally smuggled across the border to Syria and joined either Jabhat al-Nusra or ISIS or Daesh. And I learned how to speak Levantine Arabic with them. And yeah, it got a little frightening from there on.
Yeah.
The dude forcefully opened my phone, went through WhatsApp messages, went through my gallery. It's quite humiliating. But in the end, he basically was convinced that I was not.
Yeah.
I was ISIS or I was not Nusra. And he stood up, and I was still literally at that point. I was still expecting him to say, "Just follow me. I'm going to take you to a jail cell."
Oh no!
But he didn't. He said, "Right, I'm going to let you into Jordan under two conditions. Condition number one, I take your WhatsApp number, and I will ask you more questions on WhatsApp. And condition number two, somebody from the Jordanian secret police will visit you tomorrow morning in your hotel room at 10 a.m. Make sure that you're there." They're pretty crazy conditions, right?
Yeah.
But what choice do I have, right? What am I going to say? No? What's he going to do, right? So of course I accepted. They led me to Jordan, and none of those two things actually happened.
Okay.
He never messaged me on WhatsApp, and nobody came to interrogate me in my hotel room. I think that was just to scare me, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one pretty negative experience. But believe it or not, I was hitchhiking across the border with a Saudi guy, and I think the interrogation took about 6 hours. And to my surprise, the guy that I was hitchhiking across the border with was still waiting for me.
Oh wow.
Which was
Wow.
awesome. I literally just met this dude. I was
Yeah.
hitchhiking a few kilometers away from the border, and he picked me up. And 6
Wow.
hours later, he was still there waiting for me, which was really awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, after a really awful experience, I had a very nice one straight
Positive.
after.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just one. I mean, I've got many, but I don't know where. I don't know
Maybe we
where
can
else.
maybe we can save some for another show.
Sure.
Um, and what's the most positive experiences you've had? Kind of, I know there's probably many, but if there's anything that you can really kind of pick out from all your travels.
My most positive experiences. I mean, just hospitality of people. I think in Saudi Arabia, I remember I was in a rural village, and I think a lot of people have very negative stereotypes of Saudi Arabia. By the way, I think even myself before I went there, I had some negative stereotypes about it because it's not only a place that has negative stereotypes in the West, but even among other Middle Eastern countries, a lot of people
Yeah.
think quite badly of Saudi Arabia. Um, but I feel like out of all of the countries I've traveled to, Saudi is one of the countries that broke the most stereotypes.
Yeah.
Like the hospitality that I saw there was really, really, really amazing, especially in the rural areas. So like I was saying, I was checking into this rural hotel in Saudi Arabia in the northern Tabuk province, and just as I was about to pay for the room, this dude comes out of nowhere. He's like, "Stop!" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "No need. I've paid for you." Like,
Wow.
what?
Wow.
What?
Just a
Like,
random
it's
person.
literally just a random dude. Literally just a random dude.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, that's just one memory that just came to my
Yeah.
mind. But I've got so many. The last month, basically, I've been staying with an Omani family. Or basically my friend's family.
Yeah.
Here in Oman, and I've been friends with my friend Nizar for so many years, but this is my first time really staying with his family, and
Yeah.
it was phenomenal. Like they treated me as if I was one of their family, basically.
Yeah.
They fed me every day. They insisted that I would get out with them. I basically felt so comfortable, and I basically felt like one of them. And like the hospitality that I received was just next level.
Yeah.
It was really, really phenomenal. And the last month is a period of my life that I will really never forget.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Sure.
And you might not have the answer for this, but what would you say maybe the top 3 countries are on your bucket list that you really want to visit that maybe you haven't been to before?
Okay, number one is absolutely Yemen.
Okay.
This is a country which I think, to the surprise of many, is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Naturally, culturally, historically, it has so much to offer. From the Hadramaut Valley to the capital city, Sana'a, to the island of Socotra, Yemen has so much.
Yeah.
And if whoever's listening to this, if you haven't heard of the places that I just mentioned already, I really suggest that you search them up. Just Google Socotra. Look at the pictures of this island. Google Hadramaut Valley. Check it out. It is next level. But unfortunately, as you know, like Yemen is the majority of the country is not very safe right now.
Yeah.
And there is extreme poverty. there's a war going on. Hopefully that.
Hopefully it starts easing soon. Yeah.
Exactly. There are some indications that that it might get
Yeah.
that the situation might improve soon, but I mean, who knows?
Yes. Socotra, that's the island, isn't it? Which has got many rare kind of specimens of unique life in plants and animals where you can't find them anywhere else apart from that island.
Right. I think the flora and fauna in Socotra, if I'm not mistaken, is the second most unique out of any island in the world or any archipelago in the world after the Galapagos. It's really a gorgeous place.
And number two on your list. Now, what's number two on your list?
Number two on my list. I might say Papua New Guinea, actually.
Okay.
I would really love to visit Papua New Guinea.
That's the reasons
I know
behind
that might sound
one.
a little random. That's a completely different region. But it's a country which has so many cultures, and so many tribes, which are have been completely isolated from the rest of civilization and mankind for who knows how long. And I think that would just be a very different experience to any travel experience I've had in the past. I think I would learn a lot from that. Firstly, from the cultural aspects, but also the natural beauty. It just looks phenomenal. I would love to go on a rainforest trek to some very rural places. I think that would be absolutely awesome. And number three, I'd probably say Algeria.
Okay.
I'm really interested.
And you've not been there either?
Unfortunately not.
No. Okay.
I was considering going there in 2020, but COVID screwed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the things that's drawing you to Algeria?
All sorts of things. I think in terms of the natural scenery, it's very diverse. In the north, you've got crazy mountain ranges, snow-capped peaks, which are as high as the Alps, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You've got beautiful beaches. You've got ancient Roman ruins. I find it very fascinating to see the blend of old colonial architecture, but also Islamic architecture. I find that very fascinating to see.
Yeah.
And the south, you've got the Tuareg people. You've got crazy desert landscapes as well. I think that's very fascinating.
Yeah.
And I also like the fact that not many tourists visit Algeria. I think Algeria has a lot of similar things to offer to Morocco, for example, but without the crowds, without the tourists, without the developed tourism and tourist industry, which makes it for me so much more appealing.
Cool. You just mentioned obviously the coronavirus, which obviously affected a lot of trips for many people, and you said that it affected your planned trip to Algeria. Were there many other trips that had kind of got cancelled for you?
Yes, unfortunately, I was planning. I had two more Syria trips, which I had organized that people were going to join, which were set to go, but unfortunately, COVID travel restrictions meant that those had to be cancelled. Hopefully, we'll have another trip which is running in the summer.
Yeah.
If anyone likes to join, feel free to message me, add me on Instagram, traveling the unknown.
Yeah.
Message me on there. Check out some of my posts. I would say those are the only real trips that were completely cancelled, because other than that, I don't really like to set much in stone and kind of just go with the flow.
Yeah, that's fair. So you mentioned obviously your YouTube channel and your Instagram channel, Traveling the Unknown. I'll leave the links in the description below, and people can reach out to you in regards to those trips. And what else is available on your platform? So what kind of content can people expect to see?
All right, so if you follow me on YouTube, I've uploaded a lot of videos about my trips to the Middle East. I've got I think 6 videos up on my trips to Syria, videos about Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, and other places. I haven't uploaded this in quite a while, but I'm going to start doing this again soon, especially with my upcoming trip to Iraq. I think there's a lot of opportunity for some good content there. And on Instagram, you'll see all kinds of posts about different places I've visited all around the world, the Middle East in particular. And I like to visit places that most people don't go to. And I think you'll find some interesting, unique travel ideas there. So if you want some travel inspiration, if you're sick and tired of the usual destinations, then check out my page, and you'll find a whole world of completely unexplored places, which I think will offer so much more.
That's amazing. I follow your stuff, and I did come across your channel, well, your YouTube channel first through your travels through Syria. I think it was when they first started accepting tourists again. I found it quite fascinating that there were people traveling there, even despite having gone through a lot of conflict, because I think there were quite a few YouTubers who had made the trips there. And then I started following obviously your Instagram as well, which you have a lot more content available. Before we come to the end of the show, I just want to ask you one question about Pakistan. So you've been to Pakistan as well. What's your thoughts and impressions of that?
I loved Pakistan. I really loved Pakistan. I went there in 2018. I did a road trip. First I flew into Lahore. I did a road trip from Lahore to Islamabad, and then up north on the Karakoram highway. Went all the way up to the Chinese border. Saw so much gorgeous scenery. I think the mountains in the north of Pakistan are phenomenal. The nature that I saw there is next level, really. One of the most beautiful places I've been in the world. I remember I went to Pakistan with my mom, actually, and we were in a car, right, in like this these villages in the mountainous regions in the north. The driver went and stopped the car because he wanted to pray in the mosque, and whilst he was praying, these local villagers, they came and they saw us as foreigners in the car, and they said, wait 1 minute. And they went into their homes, and they came back with this massive plate of food with chicken and rice, and they just said, take it. It was just it was really awesome. Like
amazing.
And Pakistan is somewhere that I really want to get back to, actually. I was not able to visit Karachi, and I didn't have time to visit the south of the country. And
it's quite a big country as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I love big cities, by the way. Like, I love nature. I love everything, really. I love rural places. But some people hate big cities. They find them just disgusting and too much. But I'm the opposite. I find big cities amazing. I think, especially when you're in a completely different culture to what you're used to, then big, bustling cities are often an explosion of that culture. Where you can see so much happening all at once, and for that reason, I would really love to visit Karachi, because I think there is no better word no better phrase to describe the city as an explosion of culture. One day I will make it there.
And before we end the show, is there any kind of tips or advice you want to give to people like who maybe are not used to going to these kind of places, or anything just general?
I would say make local friends. There are loads of ways to do this. You could even just jump on a plane and just meet people, because in the Middle East, people are very, very hospitable, very friendly. I'm sure you'd make friends in no time. But if you're not as social or open to doing this, then you might consider other ways to do it. You might decide to join a guided tour, and that might help you to gain access to the culture and to the region in another way. For people, here's one trick that I use a lot of the time when I'm traveling. Couch surfing. I don't know if you've heard about the app couch surfing. So you can download an app called Couchsurfing on your smartphone, and basically the idea of this app is to sleep on someone's couch, basically, and local people will host you all around the world, and you can host them as well in your house. I was hosting some people in Egypt when I rented an apartment there. But I usually stay with people in so many different countries. It might seem a bit dodgy, but it really isn't. Like, people have a lot of references, and if somebody's got 30 positive references, then the risk is quite minimal.
The benefits is it's free of charge, isn't it? It's like you stay
free of charge. It's free of charge, but the cultural experiences that you'll have and the insights that you'll get are just awesome. Just having staying in a local home is just so much more preferable to me, at least, than staying in a fancy hotel. Because what are you going to learn in a fancy hotel? You can find fancy hotels in every country in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, if you're going to travel to the other side of the world, why would you do that? It doesn't make it doesn't. At least for me, like, that's just not the way that I like traveling.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out Couchsurfing if you want to learn more about local cultures. Then do that.
Yeah. Xavi, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure for me.
Take care. Hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Absolutely. Sure. All
Take
right,
care.
take care. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.